Let's call this one Chief Bemidji. So back in the days of the grandfathers, there were some white settlers, and they came up the Mississippi River, and they met an Anishinaabe man named Shenawishkung. Shenawishkung, the man who rattles. And the pioneers were like, oh, wow, look at that. It's a real Indian. What's your name, sir? But the Anishinaabe didn't speak English, and he thought they were saying, what is this place called? So Shenawishkung, man who rattles, says, oh, this is Lake Bemidji, Bemidji Gamug is what we call it. The Crossing Waters Lake. And the pioneers like, hey, I think his name is Chief Bemidji. Huh, Chief Bemidji. And Shenawishkung was like, no, that's not my name. I'm not a chief. I'm just a guy. I don't know why you're in such a... Hey, we met a chief. His name is Chief Bemidji. But not.
Welcome to BOOZHOO, not a BOOZHOO. Oh, I said welcome to BOOZHOO, not a BOOZHOO. Name and Wyndham, G-A-I, Hanumanungu. Hey everybody! Welcome back to the show! Welcome back to BOOZHOO, not a BOOZHOO, the podcast about Ojibwe language and culture. I am Natasha, and this over here on the guitar is Michael Lyons. Ikadon BOOZHOO, Michael, say hello. And now we have the star of the show. Please welcome Nana BOOZHOO. Take it away, sweetie.
So back in the days of the grandfathers, I think it was 1492. There were two guys, Christopher Columbus and George Washington. And they went to the Queen there in England, and they were like, hey, we got a plan, but we need some junia. We need some money to do this. And the Queen was like, oh, what are you boys going to do? And so George Washington goes, we're going to prove that the earth is round. We're going to take 3 ships and sail around the ball. And when we go, we're going to sail west, and then we'll end up in India. And we'll have 3 ships. We'll name them the Nina, the Pinta, and the Ocasio-Cortez. Nah. And so George Washington, so the Queen was like, okay, boys, here's some jewels and some ships. And Christopher Columbus and George Washington set sail in 1492 to sail the ocean blue. Oh, and they sailed and they sailed 40 days and 40 nights. And they had to battle sea monsters. And there was a mutiny on a ship. The other pirates were like, hey, how come this George Washington got to come along? He wasn't even part of the crew before. But regardless, they landed on Plymouth Rock. George Washington and Christopher Columbus, they climb out of the Ocasio-Cortez and they get on the beach there and like, oh, wow, you guys, look, it's an Indian. And they walked up to the Wampanoag, I think they were called. And they go, hey, are you guys Indians? Are we in India? And the dude's like, no, man, we're Wampanoags. And Christopher Columbus and George Washington, they look at each other and go, oh, come on now. You guys are Indians. Just be honest. And so the Wampanoag guy was like, okay, fine. I don't know. Who are you guys? I don't care what you call us. But then for some reason, it just stuck. Oh, wow. Pretty soon Indians all over the country were calling themselves Indians. All because of this one misunderstanding. So then George Washington and Columbus, they started to set up camp there. And they enslaved some people. And they kidnapped Squanto. And they brought him over to England again, or Italy or somewhere. And Squanto taught them about popcorn. And then there came a day when George Washington and Christopher Columbus, they were starving. And it was like in the end of November and the snow was flying. And these guys, they were sailors. They didn't know nothing about farming. They didn't know how to hunt. All they knew was how to be pirates. So then Washington goes, oh, I got an idea. Let's eat our hats. And Christopher Columbus was like, oh, come on, man. I don't want to eat our hat. Let's eat our belts. And they started to argue. Well, just then, who shows up? The friendly Anishinaabe. Like, hey, you guys, don't eat your clothing. Why don't you come over here? We're having turkey and pumpkin pie. And this became the first Thanksgiving. Well, years later, I think it was 1776. So you got 1492, George Washington sailed the ocean blue. And then in 1796, he's like 400 years old. He decides, you know what? I think it's time we have a president. So there's a big election. And then the lady he was running against was really awful. And she called all the farmers deplorables. So we're like, oh, we don't want her. She's probably a witch. And so they voted in George Washington. And the people loved him. I mean, the Indians didn't really know who he was. But the white people were like, oh, he's going to be our leader. Let's put him on the $1 bill. And then they carved a statue in the mountain of Rushmore. And they put his face up there. And then later on, they would put Abraham Lincoln, Teddy Roosevelt for inventing the teddy bear. And who else is on there? Kennedy or somebody. And I don't even know who's on Mount Rushmore. Which, by the way, Shanabs, I think is a great sculpture. I don't care what you people say. Oh, what a white man. Well, you know what? As an artist, that's a pretty good trick. Guy carved out of a mountain. I can't even carve anything out of a wood. So yeah, so then George Washington and Columbus, I think they got married. And this has been your Anishinaabe moment of history. And yeah, so I just wanted to tell you guys that because I'll be coming to a school near you, maybe to your school, or maybe to a school where your kids come. And BOOZHOO Nana BOOZHOO, this is our announcement, is we're going on the road. If you'd like us to come visit your school and talk about Native American history, just leave us a comment in the comment section. All right, I better mahjong. I better go. So in Ojibwe, you know, our word for history, we say Dabajiman. Dabajimoan, actually. And it means story. This is our story. And that's all history really is, you know. It's just stories. Okay. All right. Well, I gotta go. Thank you for watching. BOOZHOO, Nana BOOZHOO, the podcast about Ojibwe language and culture. I am Nana BOOZHOO, and I will see you again. Gigawa min, minawa, hawa. All right, how was that?
Oh, you were really cute.
Oh, thanks.
Welcome to BOOZHOO, Nana BOOZHOO. Oh, I said, welcome to BOOZHOO, Nana BOOZHOO.